So my recommendation when it comes to weight loss, Dargis, is that um, I always ask patients the first thing, do you understand what this is? And I'm pointing to my own role of fat. And when I tell people, and I ask them what this is, I say, people say different things, but fat is energy. That's what fat is. All of us store energy. And we all run on energy, like a car. And I tell everybody that the concept that I put forward in my book is simple. You need to know how much energy you use every day. And if you know how much energy you require, by reducing that amount of energy, you will lose weight. You have to. So my concept is based on what we call BMR, basal metabolic rate. The basal metabolic rate is how many calories you burn in a 24-hour period. If you know what that number is, and you can reduce it, you have to lose weight. Nothing burns more calories in 24 hours than staying alive. You stay alive from today to tomorrow, you're going to burn more calories than anything. If you run a mile, you'll burn 100 calories. If you run 5 miles, you'll burn 500 calories. But if you're not running if you're not running a mile, 5 miles a day, or the day you stop, and you're eating the extra calories that you would burn off, you're going to gain weight. So they tell us that the average diet should be about 2,000 calories. But that average can be the biggest guy in the world or the most petite person in the world. And those averages aren't really true. I don't really burn 2,000 calories a day. And when I was morbidly obese, and I had a heart problem, ended up in the hospital, had to have a cardiac ablation. I was on 5 different blood pressure medicines and still didn't control my blood pressure, developed sleep apnea, and then atrial fibrillation, which led to my cardiomyopathy. And the day after I got my ablation, I'm like, now what do I do? How do I fix this problem? I couldn't run, I couldn't go do any exercise. So I came up with this concept that if I knew what my basal metabolic rate was at that time, and I reduced my caloric intake, and it doesn't matter if it's a carb, a fat, or protein. That part's all BS, and that's why my book is called It's All BS. It doesn't matter. A calorie is a calorie is a calorie. We burn energy. We burn calories. And the body doesn't say it's a carb, a fat, or a protein before it turns it into a fat. It says it's more energy than I need, and it stores it. So by calculating what I needed, I knew that if at that time I was 300 pounds, 296 pounds, and my caloric need for the day was about 2,900 calories, give or take. I said, okay, I'm only going to eat, and I don't tell my patients to do this, but what I said is, for the first 6 months, I'm eating 700 to 1,000 calories a day, period. That's it. At the end of the day, that's what I consume. And you learn that very quickly, if you eat certain foods like cauliflower, vegetables, green vegetables, you can eat a large amount of food and it's a little bit of calories. But 1 tablespoon of olive oil, say, would be 140 calories. So don't use that. Don't put cream in your coffee, 40 calories per tablespoon. These simple little things quickly added up. And every 3,500 calories, less than you need over a period of a week, you're going to lose 1 pound. Every 3,500 calories over that, you're going to gain a pound. So if I needed 3,000 calories and I ate 1,000 calories, that's a 1,500 calorie discrepancy there. So for the first week or so, first few weeks, I was losing 2.5 pounds a week. So I lost that first 50, 60 pounds pretty quickly. People will say, well, that's a stupid idea. If you just count calories and you do this, you're going to slow down your metabolism. It's BS. You don't slow down your metabolism. What really happens is, when I was 300 pounds, I needed almost 3,000 calories to maintain that 300-pound person. But as I lose weight, I need less calories. Just like an 8-cylinder car gets 12 miles to a gallon, well, a 4-cylinder car might get 30 miles to a gallon. So if I was a 300-pound guy and I needed that amount of calories, I quickly shortened the distance or how much weight I gained from that caloric decrease. So if you don't lower your caloric intake enough, you will stop losing weight. You don't lower your metabolism, but the amount of calories you need in 24 hours decreases. So I tell everybody to calculate your basal metabolic rate. These equations, you can do it yourself, but there's so many apps on your phone today. You put your height, your weight, your age, and it gives you the general caloric need you need for a day. So some people will say, well, I have a thyroid problem. It's negligible. It's not going to change it that much, 5% at most. Well, I'm not sitting all day. Well, then yeah, if you exercise, you're going to burn more calories. But if you take that caloric burn from the exercise you do, the day you stop exercising, you're going to start gaining that weight. You're used to eating so many calories. And then they asked about bariatric surgery, and I think bariatric surgery for people who need to lose extreme amounts of weight comes in handy and definitely has its purpose, which I touch on my book. But if you don't follow these recommendations, you're going to gain all the weight back. We see it every day. People undergo either a gastric sleeve where they turn the stomach into a small tube so they can only eat so many calories. That's really what they're doing. By reducing the amount of food they eat, they reduce the amount of calories. But over time, if you don't learn this concept, how many calories you need, you slowly stretch out the stomach, you gain all the weight back. Other bariatric surgeries, like gastric bypass, they make a small pouch and then they bypass part of your intestine so you can't absorb the nutrients and the calories from the food. And that will eventually fail as well. The body will adapt to it. So it's very important to learn this concept of how many calories a day you need and how many you should eat. And then other people ask about, well, what about zone diet, keto diet, Atkins diet? These are great diets and they work, but they only work short term. The way the Atkins diet works and these no-carb diets work is that when we look at patients who have diabetes, type 1 diabetics, they don't secrete insulin. Those patients are always very skinny because they take in all this energy and the body says, well, what do I do with all these extra calories or energy? It turns on what we call lipogenesis. It secretes insulin and it turns that energy into fat for later use. So that's how they came up with these no-carb diets. So if you don't if you don't eat carbohydrates, you're not secreting insulin. So you don't you don't store all those extra calories. Your body don't utilize it. But on the other hand, what happens as soon as you stop that type of diet? You've been eating massive amounts of calories. As I say, eat fat, all the protein you want. And you're eating 4,000 calories a day, 3,500 calories, and you're used to eating that now. And now you're eating carbohydrates as well, so now you're secreting insulin. So what's going to happen? All those cells are hungry. They're going to take that extra 1,000, 2,000 calories you're taking in every day, and every 3,500 calories extra over that week, it's a pound you're going to gain. That's why you see these people that gain more weight than they originally lost. It's a common phenomenon. So I think the important concept of what I tell everybody who's dieting or trying to lose weight is to make a lifestyle modification, which is what I recommend. Calculate your BMR, know what it is, weigh yourself every day, and then just start day one by reducing your caloric intake by just 500 calories. If you need 2,000, take in 1,500. If you need 1,500, take in 1,000. If you need 1,200, take in 800. And just follow that. After you lose 10 pounds, recalculate your BMR. And you'll eventually learn how many calories a day you need to eat to maintain your weight. And get away from the thought of saying, oh, it's a fat, it's a carb, it's a protein. It doesn't matter. It's BS. It's a calorie. So what I tell people is, if they ask, well, I want to eat this or that, I like pizza. Pizza's my thing. But I know a slice of pizza with everything on it is 800 calories. So I know if I'm going to limit my intake of calories to that day to 1,500 calories, well then 800 calories every day, maybe that pizza. Or some people say, well, I want a glass of wine. Fine, have a glass of wine. But it's 120 calories. So you just put it in your formula. It doesn't matter what the food is, just understand that. Do smart things. Use an air fryer. An air fryer doesn't add any calories like olive oil. Olive oil adds hundreds of calories even though it's supposed to be healthy. So if you just eat smart, bring your own lunch. Like today, this is what I brought my apple because I know it's 80 calories, maybe 100 calories, and it's filling versus, a piece of candy, which is a small little thing, maybe 200 calories. It's all calories, that's all it is. Anybody tells you anything different, they really don't know what they're talking about. So I think it's important to exercise. I do have recipes in my book, and only because people have a hard time understanding maybe that they can eat large portions of food and it's low calories. So there are some areas in my book that talk about recipes, like I like lobster. So, but lobster is actually, if you just cook lobster and don't add oil, it's very low calories. People don't, same with shrimp, it's very low calorie food, it's a large portion, small amount of calories. It's virtually no fat, because fat is 8 calories per gram. So 1 gram of anything that contains a fat is 8 calories. A carbohydrate and a protein are 4 calories. So it's really, what is it made of? If it has a lot of grams of fat in it, it's going to be a lot of calories. If it has a lot of grams of carbohydrates, it's going to be less calories. And if it has a lot of water, it's going to be even less calories than that. And the only other thing is alcohol. Alcohol is the only type of substance that we eat that's not a carbohydrate or a fat or a protein, but it still liberates 7 calories of alcohol. So 7 calories of energy per gram. So people will say, well, I had a vodka and diet something because it had no sugar in it. It's really still 7 calories per gram. It's a fallacy. In terms of exercise, I do recommend people exercise. I try to exercise, most days. I think it should be the routine. But I don't use exercise to control my weight, ever. I used to try to do that, and you'd always lose. So whether it's walking 20, 30 minutes a day, riding a bike, a Stairmaster, weight training, whatever you're comfortable with, I think it's important to exercise because it keeps you healthy. But don't use it to control your weight. I think it's a mistake. Because the day you don't exercise, and you're used to consuming the calories that exercise is burning, you're going to gain that weight back, or more. Anything worth doing sometimes is hard. But I tell people, number one, set realistic goals. Don't worry about losing 100 pounds. Because if you think you got to lose 100 or 150 pounds, it can be so daunting and overwhelming. You think, I'll never do it. I'm setting myself up to fail. So the first thing I tell people to do is that don't worry about that. First thing you should worry about, just worry about the next thing you're going to put in your mouth. That's it. Just focus on the next thing you're going to eat. You can't do anything about the thing you just ate. And if you screw up and you eat something wrong, don't worry about it. Just say to yourself, my goal is to lose weight and get healthy. Just focus on the next thing you eat. And maybe write it down. Just educate yourself. People say, well, I don't know how many calories are in it. Anything prepackaged these days have calories counts. All these restaurants have to have calorie counts because obesity is epidemic. And people don't realize that McDonald's hamburger they had, or Burger King hamburger and French fries and one soda, could have 1,500 calories. Enough calories for their entire day. But yet, you could take a whole head of cauliflower, a bushel of mushrooms, put any dry seasoning you want, squirt it with like 0-calorie olive oil so that the seasoning sticks, put it in your air fryer, and you could have a huge meal, and it's still only 100 calories. That's what people don't understand. You just have to educate yourself. And if you want it bad enough, you'll educate yourself and you'll do it. You just have to make a commitment. Sometimes I'll recommend you partner up with somebody. That's why I think it's a great thing that the whole office was trying to take this initiative. So you partner up, you compare to each other what you're doing, what recipes you're making, what food you're eating, how many calories can you cut here, how many calories can you cut there. Sometimes it's so simple by just saying, listen, I'm going to cut out that one glass of wine. I'm going to cut out some of the cream in my coffee. Because all those little things add up, and once you're conscientious of it, you'll start to do it, and it becomes second nature. I mean, I lost my weight a few years ago, and I couldn't imagine getting obese again, because now part of my routine is I get on my scale every day. I weigh myself every day. I want to know what I weigh, and I'll think to myself, well, how many calories did I consume? And we're all pretty intelligent. It's very easy to calculate and keep a running total in your head how many calories you're eating. And if you just try to take a little control of it, you'll be surprised. You'll lose weight. You may not lose 100 pounds in 6 months, but that shouldn't be your goal anyway. It should be to change your lifestyle and your habits so you get to a normal weight and stay there. It's imperative for all of us. Very important.